Welcome to the LA Insider, the podcast that takes you inside the neighborhoods of Los Angeles through the voices of the people shaping them. I'm your host, Jason Anderson, a real estate agent in LA and your guide to the stories behind the city. Each week I sit down with local entrepreneurs, community leaders, and business owners to uncover what makes their corner of LA special, from hidden gems to big ideas and neighborhood-changing insights. We'll also explore the path to success that brought each of my guests to where they are today, their challenges, wins, and the lessons they've learned along the way. Whether you're exploring where to live, grow a business, or just want to understand the real LA, this show is for you. Let's dive in. All right, so welcome to the podcast, everybody. Today I've got a great guest, Kathy Cuevas. Hi, Kathy. Thanks for joining us. She's a financial coach and a founder of Financial Freedom Pathway, which helps women rewrite their financial stories. She has a background as a teacher and a personal journey overcoming financial hardship. She empowers women to break free. Start that over. Kathy empowers women to break free from debt and build wealth with confidence. So welcome, Kathy.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And so you're a Corona resident. I want to ask you, how long have you lived in Corona?
13 years now.
Okay, so must mean that you like it.
Yes.
And what brought you to Corona?
At the time, it was like affordable. It's a nice, older, growing city, older but growing. It's got a lot of the older feel to old town cities. It's right next to Norco, which is Horsetown, USA, where there's more horses than people in Norco.
Okay.
And it's centrally located. I can go up to Rancho Cucamonga to Victoria Gardens and a lot of restaurants up there. Or I can go east to Tyler Mall, Riverside restaurants and mall shopping there. So it's real. There's a couple of places down south like Dos Lagos and things like that. But it's a nice, clean, quiet, what I would call maybe a bedroom community. It's a wonderful place to live, close to the Metrolink, the trains and everything. It's a great location.
It sounds really unique being so close to an equestrian community, which is rare to have.
Yeah, we see horses crossing the street all the time. In fact, the Staters up on the corner has a horse corral for people to come in their horses, and they go in the store and they come back on their horses and go.
That's a unique thing to have for sure.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in the Wild West.
So it's a little bit of a quieter lifestyle than you might get in Los Angeles.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Awesome.
Traffic can still be bad on the 91 freeway, but other than that, it's a nice community.
Oh, great. Yeah, 91, that can be a bear sometimes.
Yeah. Low crime, good schools. It's great.
Well, good schools, that's huge.
Yes. That's actually really important when you look at properties to make sure it's a good school district for resale value.
Yeah, so a good place to raise a family, it sounds like.
Oh, definitely. Very family oriented. A lot of community services, parks, a lot of community activities. They're from little tiny kids in the community center. They're teaching them soccer, indoor soccer and things. There's all kinds of things for families here. Even I go to senior yoga, so there's a lot of stuff for seniors also.
Oh, that's great. Sounds like something for everybody.
Yeah, definitely, yes.
Excellent. Well, I would love to hear your story I know you're in financial planning now. What took you on your path to where you are today?
Well, this was an accidental stumble. It wasn't part of life's plan, but life threw me a bunch of wrenches, and this is where I ended up based upon what I learned along the way. So I was raised in a very humble household from the time I was 5 with a single mother, Hispanic, house cleaning people's houses just for friends and family because there wasn't anything like Molly maids and stuff like that back then. So we were poor, but we didn't feel poor because all our needs were met. So I was very grateful. My grandmother lived next door, so when my mother went to work and I wasn't in school, my grandma would watch her. So it's the nice, homey kind of feeling I grew up in. Other than it was like 3 blocks from a major gang, which I heard gunshots almost every night, and I saw a man get stabbed outside my bedroom window in Pomona. That was kind of rustic, but so I went from there, and because we were low income, I was very fortunate and got a full free ride to Cal Poly, which is the only school I applied to. I wanted to go there so bad, and first in my family to go, first in the family to finish.
Cal Poly
Cal
Pomona?
Poly Pomona, yeah.
I'm a Bronco.
Oh, yay! Yeah, I'm not even going to mention the class I graduated in, but anyway, yeah, I went there for my 4 years and I loved it. And I started off an accounting major, but learned that accounting was not what I thought it was. I thought accounting was bookkeeping. That's how naive I was. So after my first class, I said, I'm not going to do this one. So I switched and I went to a business major and finished with that. After my first semester, I declared business major. or quarter, I guess, back in my freshman year. And I graduated on time, luckily, after a bunch of hard knocks and having excessive units and stuff. So that was really a blessing to be able to have that for free, and take advantage of getting out of the circumstance or environment I was in, because all my aunts and uncles, they never went beyond high school. That's just the way the Mexican community went. They're like tailors, or my grandma was a seamstress, and that's just what they did. But in my generation, if we didn't go to school back in the 80s and so forth, then we wouldn't have a leg up anywhere. So I'm thankful I got my degree, which helped me later on to land my teaching job. So from there, I worked for, Bank of America as a loan officer, and it was General Telephone, which is now Verizon, and then the county department in Los Angeles or Santa Monica somewhere. So I have a lot of experience. I've managed apartments, 200 unit apartments. In fact, they hired me to fire people that weren't keeping the books right. So I've got a ton of business experience. And then I went on, and every time I lost a job, a friend of mine said, "You'd be such a good teacher." I never wanted to be a teacher ever in my last mind wanted to be a teacher. Lost another job. "You really got to be a teacher." And her husband was a teacher. So I went and I took the test. I passed this, I think it's called the CBET or something, C something or other.
The best.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, so I passed the CBEST, and I think I had to take the English part twice, but anyway, so I passed that, and I started substitute teaching and actually liked it. So then I went back to Cal Poly and I got my teaching credential. And I liked that. So I got my first job. I think after the first year, I got my first job, and I was teaching business at Jurupa Valley High School. And then they had major cutbacks. So I lost that job and didn't have a job for a whole year. So I went just substitute teaching. And I ended up in a special ed position in Fontana. And I lived in Rancho Cucamonga at the time. And they actually said, if you go to school and get your credential, we'll hire you right now. So I said, okay. So I went to school, I got my credential, but as soon as I rolled in that first class, they hired me as a full-time employee because the special ed was short-staffed. And I liked it. It wasn't what I wanted. I really love business classes, teaching typing, and back then starting to teach computers. They just came out back then, from dinosaur dating myself now. But it was just a great experience helping kids get out of special education, seeing that light bulb turn on. Just a lot of great experiences. But I really, really, really wanted high school, and I wanted business. So I took a leap of faith, because once you're tenured, if you leave districts, you're not tenured again for 2 years. And then it's not till that third year tenure. So I took a chance being a single parent. I left Chino where I was. I came to Fontana. I did teach 1 year of special ed. Then I moved right up to the brand new high school and taught business courses ever since. And during that time, I had a horrible divorce, and I was almost going to lose the house I was in, which is where my financial mess started. We had always put into his company because they matched the employer match, and teaching didn't. So we put everything his and lived mostly off my income. So I had nothing in savings and things like that. So of course, futures are not guaranteed. My marriage turned into a disaster. A lot of financial pitfalls after that. And I had to pick myself up by my bootstraps and ended up getting in about $7,000 of credit card debt, which to me could have been 50 or 60,000, making just barely over 20,000 as a new teacher. So I was so overwhelmed, stressed out, freaking out, just buying clothes and food for my girls. It was very stressful, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And he was stealing support checks from the mailbox, so it was a really bad situation.
Ouch.
And I learned how to budget. I taught myself, because I was, again, a business teacher. I worked on Excel, and I taught that in the class for a little while. A beginning computer class I had back on, Mac SEs or Apple IIes with the floppy disks and stuff. So I learned how to create my own grade sheets, because grade sheets weren't thought of back then. So I did that, and I just loved the business aspect of it. So then I got to high school and I started teaching business classes. They asked me to teach government 1 year, and I taught computer programming, things like that, web page design. I didn't like that too well. The kids knew more than I did. But the last 13 years I taught personal finance. And when I started teaching the class, I was at the tail end of getting out of the mess I had gotten into through no fault of my own, just circumstances. So I understand now, you look at somebody, oh, well, it's their fault, they're poor. Well, sometimes it's not. It could be medical debt or anything else. So
Oh, yeah.
started teaching the class, and when I got to this chapter on insurance, I learned about disability insurance and learned, hey, I need to get this, because chances are if you're going to be in a horrific accident, you're going to live, but in a body cast versus being 6 feet under. So I instantly got disability insurance, and it got enough coverage that I would be covered. And I got life insurance as well to make sure that my girls would be taken care of had I did succumb to something. So I learned all the right financial stuff. And then fast forward the last 13 years, I was at that school out of 20. They asked me to teach personal finance, and man, I was in heaven. I started teaching these kids a lot of the things I had been through, so they had a lot of personal experience, not just book stuff, because I have like my bachelor's in business, got a teacher credential, a special ed credential, and a master's in education. None of that taught me anything about personal finance.
Mm-mm.
Absolutely nothing. So everything I had was from, even though I'm well pedigreed, it was all from personal school of hard knocks. And I actually taught my students that, and they'd ask questions, well, why didn't I do this? And I said, well, because this is what can happen. I did it, and this is what happened to me. So it was really good. And I worked at a very low income school in Fontana. So I was able to put myself on a little pedestal in the first couple of days of school and give them the speech. Hey, I'm a single white looking woman, but I'm half Spanish. And I pulled myself up from my bootstraps up to now. I wasn't quite yet a multimillionaire then, but I was well on my way.
Hmm.
I started actually buying properties once I got back on my feet and things were looking better. I bought my first one with cash. I think it was like $83,000 for a two-bedroom condo back when the market crashed in '07 is when I started buying properties. So I
Awesome.
had really good luck with that. And I learned a lot about the forms, the documents. I never bought fix and flip houses like you see the shows on TV. That you got to have a big crew for that. And I obviously didn't have big crew money. I had me, myself, and I. So mine were almost move-in ready. They might have needed painting or maybe new flooring. It was minimal. They were pretty decent condition. So that made it easy. And I've always been good at sales, so I was good at renting my places out.
Yeah.
And now fast forward today, thanks to Chat GBT, my rentals sound like it's Taj Mahal. And they're really nice, but Chat GBT just makes it so much better. And I've used it for a lot of things in both that and my financial coaching business. So it's just wonderful how to look back at my story. And so many people tell me to write a book, kind of like rags to riches kind of, but just the struggles I had. If it wasn't almost losing my house, it was, living paycheck to paycheck, getting paid once a month. You had to really make it stretch. And it was just very, very difficult. So learning what I went through, if had I had an emergency account, that's the first thing I preach to my students. You've got to have that emergency account because
Yeah.
that's your life ring, your lifesaver. Without that, you're no good. So I finally built up my own, and that's how I had the money. I kept on building it and building it because I didn't want to go back to where I was. They say when you get so far down, you look up and you don't want to go back. Well, I certainly don't want to go back to where I was.
Yeah.
So I oversaved, and that's what got me to be able to buy my first condo back then when the market took a crash for like $89,000. When it at the peak of it, I think it sold for around the low 300s, I think.
Okay. So that sounds like a great opportunity, and you just because you had great savings, you were able to jump on it.
I took advantage of it. And I had my brother-in-law, my sister and her first husband were in real estate. So she kind of helped me and said, or my brother-in-law that she was married to, her second one told me, you should actually finance and leverage those. So I financed the one I had paid cash for and pulled cash out and used that cash to buy the next one. And I kept on doing that. So it made it easy, but it's not that easy today with the price of the homes. The last one I bought, I still have a mortgage on it, but I only own like about 150,000 on I think back then it was maybe a $300,000 property, which is now
Mhm.
worth about five, I think, 575 around there somewhere. So it's not bad. I've gotten a good return on my investment, but I've also had really bad blunders. I've had bad tenants. And when we talked about that part in my classroom, I told the students, I mean, everything from the dirty. They heard about somebody came back that was evicted and set fire to my house.
Oh
They
no.
had all kinds of good, life stories of what could happen. You either have the stomach for it or you don't. The same thing with the stock market. You got the stomach for the stock market ups and downs or you don't. And I taught them that, and they did quite well with what I taught them from real life experience, which is what I bring to my coaching business.
Yeah, there's no replacement for a real life experience.
Yeah. But it's nice though to learn from someone else to save, so you save the mistakes, which is what I really like to do. I like to save people from making the mistakes I had made. And either that or if they're in a mistake to get them through it way faster than I did, showing them, the light at the tunnel versus struggling through it on your own.
So what would you say to a woman who maybe is a little further along in life and they're finding themselves in a similar predicament as you, maybe getting divorced or, not having a cushion saved up? I'm sure psychologically it's a big dark cloud, over your head. How do they overcome that kind of a feeling?
It's actually a mindset. And that goes to any profession, any job, anything you want, personal goals, those people that are they're high energy, high selling, your personal success and the way you see yourself. So I didn't really start saving from my retirement account till I was probably in my mid 40s when I was able to start putting, and it was $10 a month into my 403B at work. And it was a struggle at that. And then after that, another gentleman came that these people are pre-approved in my school district. Another guy came and I said, listen to his spiel. And I gave him 25. And I'm up to 35, 10 for this first guy and 35 for this guy or 25 for this guy. And it slowly built up. And after the fourth person, I had another setback. I forget what had happened. I don't recall anymore, but I needed to borrow money and had nobody, family, nothing I could ever borrow from. So the first guy ended up, and I refer to him, a lot of people, him and the guy I also have right now, two very good fiduciaries that help you without their pocketbook in mind, but your best financial future. And the first one helped me take the money I could from the other three places that wasn't penalized for early withdrawal or whatever it was. I forget what it was, locked in for a period, which I didn't know anything about what I was investing in at the time. And he put it all into his company. I took out a loan for like $4,000 and I paid it off super quick. But it got me through whatever, like I said, I don't remember what it was, but whatever hurdle I was in, it got me through that bad spot, at least having that savings. So the best advice, like no matter how old you are, is just start saving, even if it's $10 a month. Once you get in the habit and you keep doing it, then it's so easy to up it. Like if you get a raise instead, because you got that mindset, instead of saying I'm stuck living paycheck to paycheck, instead of that, you say, I can live beyond paycheck to paycheck. And then when you start thinking those positive thoughts, then you're able to start saving in your mind. What you put in your mind is what comes out. So if you like people that have poor self-esteem, they're not going to do as well in interviews as people that have a great self-esteem and think they're the hottest thing on the planet. So you understand what I'm saying. It's the same thing with your mindset with money. Money has a mindset, and you have to get all the taboo stuff you've been taught, raised up with, or what was familiar in your family, and get beyond that and set your own destiny and say, hey, I can do this. I can be a millionaire. When I was a little girl playing Monopoly, it was like, it was fun to have all the houses in Boardwalk and Park Place. Never in my life did I ever think I'd ever own more than one house at a time, ever. It wasn't something I aspired to do, but it just happened. And it was good that it happened because I found I had the stomach for it, but you just fall into circumstances. And I wouldn't say right place, right time. I think it was more like right planning. I started saving that $10 a month and then the 25 and then 50 with another guy until I had a pretty substantial thing. And my goal before I retired was to have 1 million in my 403B, but I didn't quite make it because right before I retired, the market crashed. This is before COVID. So I think I ended up with like maybe 750 of that, but it's money I have not touched to this day, and I've been retired 3 years. So I'm living on my pension and my rental income, and I'm still at that. I'm still saving probably $3,000 or $4,000 a month.
Wow, that's a very healthy financial plan you've got there.
Yeah, because I don't want to go back. I mean, once you see where you've been, you don't want to go back there. You will fight tooth and nail to get out of there. That's why I want to give people that fight to say, hey, this is not your karma. That's only a circumstance. You can get out of that if you want to. You just have to have the strong desire and the fight to want to do it because nobody can make you do it. You have to want to do it yourself. It comes from within.
Very true. Well, what steps should women take if they feel behind financially due to a divorce or a career change?
That's difficult because every situation is different. Everybody's income, lifestyle is all different. They have to be open to suggestion and they have to start saving. And saving is number one. They have to be flexible. And I think it's more difficult with people who are very affluent that get divorced and have nothing than it is for someone who had your average lifestyle to be able to pick up and move on from there and then, like me, end up better than what I was before. But I think it's just mindset. It's just hard for a rich person to go back to quote being not poor, but middle class or whatever they want to call it. It's difficult for them to do that. But if you're open-minded, then you can get back what you had before instead of, thinking I'm doomed. It's like I'm embarrassed. I can't be with my friends anymore. That's all in your head. That's you thinking what they're thinking. So it's just have a positive outlook, and I can work with you in whatever the situation is. Work with your mindset first and foremost. So, be your biggest cheerleader. Hey, you've got this. You can do this, and give you the path, give you the roadmap how to do it.
How does a woman rewriting her financial story empower her to better take charge of her financial future?
I think when she has the positive attitude, she carries herself better. She doesn't let bad things happen, or if they do, she's smart enough to know how to get out of them. It's just a personal mindset that, hey, I can do this. I don't need, quote, especially when I don't need, quote, a man to do something. I can do it on my own. Where traditional, back in happy days, mom stayed home and dad worked.
Yeah, it's changed a lot.
They never died back then. They were always the happy Opie and whatever, all those old shows I used to watch. I'm really dating myself now. But I mean, it's the mindset, it's changed. In this time right now, if you don't have two working incomes, unless one of you makes a buku lot of money, you're not going to make it. It takes two, but with the prices and the economy and everything else, and now that the inflation's hitting, it's cramping a lot of people. So that emergency account is going to be your life ring, your lifesaver to have it when something hits the fan, and sure enough, it will.
So you mentioned that you had that $7,000 worth of debt with 20,000 in income. Are there any tips you can give somebody who might be in a similar situation where the amount of the debt just seems overwhelming and how they can, address it?
Yeah, and I wish I would have had my own medicine back then to tell myself, hey, this doesn't define you. Being overwhelmed is not the end of your story. You can pay it off and get out of it. But it has to be just living carefully. So I would say definitely today's society, too many people live outside of their means because they have to one up and be someone like the neighbor, the grass has to be greener, all the other stuff. And I thank God I was raised in a very humble home that I've never had. Even when I have money now, I don't think like that. I think like I'm poor and I scrounge. I use coupons. I use things on my computer to save money when I'm shopping. I get free gift cards. I do all that stuff, and I don't need to, but I do because it's habit, and it's a very good habit to have. So just, your mindset, first of all, is the first thing I'd work on is the mindset. Don't feel overwhelmed, although I've been overwhelmed myself, even in my position. I've been overwhelmed before with issues that have happened with the rental property. You just have to focus on past it, not micro focus, but focus on the long-term picture and find somebody to help you. And you reach out because nobody should have to do these things on their own, whether it's a family member or a coach or someone at church somewhere. Find someone who can help you and get the help that you need so that you have the hopefully the proper mindset and get out of it much quicker than you would have the other way. It's not it doesn't define you having that debt at any age. It's just the older you are, it's probably harder to pay off because you're nearing your end of your time. And if you haven't saved, like I didn't save till my late 40s, thinking I'm going to retire at 62. Well, I didn't know that back then, but I retired at 62. It's the mindset. So at the end of I'd say the last 7 years, I was saving 60% of my income. I was doing
Wow.
the FIRE movement, and I didn't even know what it was until I showed my students
What's it called?
the FIRE movement, FIRE.
Oh, tell us about that.
Financial independence, retire early.
Ooh, okay, let's hear about that.
Okay. Well, the fire movement started, I think, around the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. It could have been a little bit earlier. And again, I didn't know about this until I saw the documentary, the video Fire. It's an excellent documentary. And when I showed it to my kids at school, again, from low income, it's about a couple that lived in San Diego on the beach, had everything, a new kid, new cars, everything. And they were just living paycheck to paycheck. And they found this person from the fire movement. I don't know how that came about, but they told them the cold hard facts. You need to get rid of the wife's car. And the wife did not want to get rid of her Mercedes, or she just did not want to. And finally she gave in and gave it up. He sold his car and they bought an older one. So now they had no car payment, and you just little time. And they started, I don't know if you call it house hacking or not, but they sold their property in San Diego, put the money and invested it very well. They learned how to invest well on their journey. And they were living with his parents. They were living with her parents. The wife was working online because she could do her job remote from anywhere on the planet. They traveled all over the states from San Diego. They went up to cold country up north somewhere. And it documented everything they did and how they got out of it with the fire movement. It's like I said, I didn't know about it when I was going through it, but that's basically living well below your means, saving half your income. And there's a formula, and I'm not sure off the top of my head. You
Mhm.
can crunch how much you need, and then once you have it saved, you technically can retire and live off the interest you have from what you saved.
Yeah, that's amazing to have that financial freedom. So, what's the first step a woman can take to get started on the pathway to financial freedom?
It depends on where she's at. I've worked with clients that just need budgeting help. I've worked with some that have debt repayment issues. So I work with you where you're at, and everybody's different. We look at I have them give me a spreadsheet of all their debts and stuff. And of course, they would either come to me or someone they're comfortable with, and they would just trust the coach I wouldn't call it a financial advisor. A financial advisor to me is the retirement planning. Financial coach is up to that point. And I actually did pass my Series 6 and 63 exams to be a financial advisor, but that's not what I want to do. I passed those people on, and I can still work with them in their personal finances to give them more money to be able to put in that financial account. But definitely start with your mindset, no matter how old you are, even if you're 50 something, just start saving. That's the hugest thing. And look at where you're spending your money. A lot of people are totally oblivious to where their money goes. They go, they got my paycheck in it. I don't know where my money went this month. It's because they're not tracking it. A budget sheet is probably the first thing I'll give somebody. I'll say, here's the budget sheet, do it in even dollars, fill it out, and then we'll see where you can go from there. 9 times out of 10, when I plug the formulas in, or put it in my spreadsheet, or if I have them do it on computer, I see that they're like 700, 800 every month in the hole. And you got to find plugs. Okay, what can we stop? What on this budget sheet is the most important thing for you? And it could be the house they're in, it could be the car payment they have, whatever they decide is most important. And then we take that off the table and we work with whatever else that they're willing to give up. Gym membership, magazine subscriptions, yacht club membership, whatever. I mean, it depends on where they're at. And we just work with what they've got and get them down to a comfortable living within their means, including savings. Just because you live within your means but don't save, you're not going to make it. That means you retire and now you got nothing but Social Security, and we all know where that's going. So
Right.
if one thing my important thing I have is nobody should care more about your money than you. And if you don't care about your money and you don't learn where it's going, then you've got a problem. It's the ticket to go bye-bye. So,
And so this advice can be for people older, but also younger as well, right? They like
oh,
fresh out of college, that could really impact their entire financial future.
not even out of college, fresh in high school when they get
Oh,
their first,
right.
if they choose in high school to get a job, to start the habit of saving. My kids had two budget assignments, one at the beginning of the year and one at the end of the year. Beginning of the year was like they're on their own, at home living with their parents, and they got a part-time job. How are you going to save? Ask your parents what they expect you to chip in for utilities or whatever, because, they were all low income and everybody chipped in to help everybody. Or the second one they did, they were pretending they were married or in their adult life outside of college, making whatever their career goal was in that income starting pay. And now with this income, what are you going to do? And they had to show me how they were still saving it. They did not put a minimum of 10% in savings and 10% emergency savings. The best they got was a B. And if it didn't balance to a zero budget, then they dropped to a C. So they had a really hard lesson on you have to watch where your money goes. Because if you don't, it's just going to go by. And, you think, in fact, I just did another short video on vacation last week about the $5 latte. I think it's only $5, but $5 ends up being over 1,800 a year. And you don't go to Starbucks. And first of all, it's not $5. I just chose a nice low number,
I think
reasonable
it's
number.
7 now.
But even at that, then you're going to tip on top of that. You're not going to be embarrassed and not tip, even though, it's like McDonald's, but whatever. I
Right.
don't tip McDonald's and In-N-Out. It really adds up. Then I show them, well, if you put this instead in 4%, because you can still today make 4% in online savings accounts, this is what you would have had instead. And they see that they would have had over $1,860 versus spending without the tips, 1,825. With tips, it was over 2,000. And they can see now the big picture of what that little tiny $5 latte does to your budget. So it's just making them aware. Let's look at where your money is. Let's say, well, do you need this? If you had, let's say cable for $50, and I'm sure it's more than that, but let's say you took cable off the table. $50 times 12, this is how much you're saving a year. If that can go either towards car payment, towards your savings, start towards something that you didn't have before. And most of my clients don't have that emergency account. So that's the first place I want to start to give them a place to land on in case the next item hits the fan before they're ready for it.
So I bet a lot of people listening are really relating to a lot of the things you're talking about, the situations that you've given as examples. For those who think that they could use your help as a coach, how does that work? How do they contact you?
They could contact me either through my LinkedIn or my website. I have a contact me here thing, and the website will show them the
Uh-huh.
packages I offer and so forth, but it's not anything they can really buy online. I meet with them first. I give everybody a free 30-minute consultation to see, first of all, I think I can help you. And that
Sure.
doesn't mean that I can't numbers help you, means that is your mindset willing to be pliable? You have to really want to get out of the mess you're in and want it more than anything else for me to be able to help you, then I can help you. I can make you a millionaire in a few years. You just have to be willing to do the work. I did it by myself, figuring it out. And if I can do it by myself with no school education for financing or investing, then you can do it.
And so let's say somebody does engage with you as their new coach. How often do you meet? Is it over Zoom? Is it in person? How does
It's over Zoom. I
Okay.
don't imagine anybody would be local to Columbus. It's over Zoom. It's either half hour or an hour a week, depends on which plan they purchase and how long time I think they need. I always give an option if they want to choose a lower plan and they need more time, then I can always apply just the difference and upgrade to the next plan and get the time that they lost for the first one, and so forth. So I'm very flexible as far as working with people. If they think, well, I only need 6 weeks, but oh my God, I had more mess than I thought because either they're not doing homework or they've been busy or whatever. Now
Mhm.
they need 3 months or 6 months, and then we go again after that if they want more. But a lot of people, what they would do is they would, after I help them with what they came for, then they want to know how to invest. And I don't ever tell anybody what stock to buy. Like I told my students, I will tell you how to pick a good stock, but I will not tell you which one to buy. That way you can't blame me. Plus the old saying in the Bible, you can give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, but if you teach him how to fish, he'll live the rest of his life.
Yeah.
So I teach people how to budget, how to mindset, how to invest, what to look for, what not to look for.
That sounds amazing. I think a lot of people are going to want to reach out to you to get some advice and get their financial house in order.
I hope so. I love, I mean, I do it out of passion because I was raised in a Christian home and I believe in paying it forward. And I had, my cousin tell me, when your daughters turn 18, this is after my first husband died and I was getting Social Security, goes, that money's going to be gone. You need to plan. So she was the first one that planted that seed. Hey, I need to not take the money and pay stuff off now. And with that, by the way, I paid off that $7,000 credit card debt in about 5 or 6 months after he died and got real support for the girls. It happened, then my tides turned, then I started sucking in savings, and that's how I started building up my emergency account. And then the rest is history, just one step at a time. You can't get out of debt and buy a house at the same time or invest because you have to have that safety net first, then you can invest with anything above your emergency account.
Wow. That's a really
Right.
great story. And thank you for sharing your success with us and your business.
You're
All
welcome.
of your contact information will be at the bottom of the podcast video for anybody who wants to reach out to you. And what is your web address?
Financialfreedompathway.us.
Financialfreedompathway.us. That sounds easy
Yes.
to remember.
Yes. It's like the sign behind was it on this side?
Oh,
This
right, right.
side.
It's on that side.
Financial Freedom Pathway, but all together and then .us.
US. Cool.
And they
Well,
can
thank you.
email me for there.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Kathy, for joining us.
You're
And
welcome.
to
It's a
those of
pleasure
you
to
out
be here.
there, thank you all for joining us as well. Thank you for tuning in to the LA Insider. I hope today's conversation gave you a deeper look into the people and neighborhoods that make Los Angeles so dynamic. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who loves LA just as much as you do. I'm Jason, and I'll be back next week with another inspiring guest and more stories from the heart of the city. Until then, stay curious, stay connected, and keep exploring LA.